So I'm going to say just a little bit about the Tea Party. I think that it is best summed up with, look at those people who are members of the Tea Party, and regardless of how they dress up under another name, recognize that it's just the Republican Party doing like the Tea Party. That's why they named the Tea Party. Let me read this to you. You make sure you put this on YouTube. Yeah? Okay. Says, this is George Hughes, and he was a member of the band of quote-unquote Indians that boarded the tea ships that evening. His recollection of the event was published some years later. We join his story as the group makes its way to the tea-laden ships. It was now evening. I'm quoting from him. It's under quotation mark now. He's relating his story. It was now evening, and I immediately dressed myself in the costume of an Indian. Now, why did he dress up like an Indian? It's so that the captains would have, the captains of the British ships that was there to guard those ships that were bringing the tea, they would have plausible, what you call deniability, as to, at least they'd have a plausible lie to tell. That we saw Indians do this. The colonists had nothing to do with it. Oh, the Tea Party caused that trouble with the debt ceiling. The Republican Party had nothing to do with it. We were just as much a hostage as you. You that stupid. Since when has any Republicans, especially being the way that it has become now, it has changed from the party of Abraham Lincoln to the rich man's and to the party of the affluent, to the party of those who are supremacists. You know, keep the status quo as it is. Keep the white man ruling and everybody else subservient. Now, if I'm saying something that's not true, I'm not saying this in a vacuum. You feel free to come in here and straighten it out. If I'm wrong, if I'm exaggerating, if I'm placing any kind of, if you feel that I'm being deceptive or being, giving out or disinformation, you come in here and question me on what I'm saying, and I will question you on what you say. And I will be more than happy, just like Reverend Rankin and myself, we had a very good, civilized dialogue. You know, we didn't need nobody mediating it. Both of us were civilized enough to let the other one say what he had to say. So, now, they dressed up like Indians. And they threw the tea over. And it says, it was now evening, and I immediately dressed myself in the costume of an Indian, equipped with a small hatchet, which I and my associates denominated the tomahawk, with which, and the club, after having painted my face and hands with coal dust in the shop of the blacksmith, I repaired to Griffin's Wharf, where the ships lay that contained the tea. And when I first appeared in the street after being thus disguised, I fell in with many who were dressed, equipped, and painted as I was, and who fell in with me and marched in order to the place of our destination. When we arrived at the wharf, there were 3 of our number who assumed an authority to direct our operations, to which we readily submitted. They divided us into 3 parties. Why 3 parties? It obviously was 3 ships there, right? Okay. For the purpose of boarding the 3 ships which contained the tea at the same time. They wanted to go on to the ships simultaneously. That's what they got it together and was getting ready to go on there. And so it says, the name of him who commanded the division to which I was assigned was Leonard Pitt. The names of the other commanders I never knew. Why was that? Because if we get caught, we can't tell on each other. That's what it is. A lot of them don't know who was who. They just, that way they get caught. Can't nobody rat the other one out. Right? Okay. And he says, we were immediately ordered by the respective commanders to board all the ships at the same time, which we promptly obeyed. The commander of the division to which I belonged, as soon as we were on board the ship, appointed me boatsman and ordered me to go to the captain and demand of him the keys to the hatches and a dozen candles. Now they dressed up like Indians. He goes and talks to the captain of the ship. Huh? Yes. So the captains of the ships knew what was going on. And then it says, I made the demand accordingly, and the captain promptly replied and delivered the articles that I demanded, but requested me at the same time to do no damage to the ship or rigging. Why is that? Because if you damage these ships, then the king don't want to know why the ship didn't fire on you all and whatnot. But we can say you slipped in there and knocked us out or something and threw it over, and when we knew anything, they didn't even let it out. He had to cover himself because he had to go back to England. Then it says, we then were ordered by our commander to open the hatches and take out all the chests of tea and throw them overboard. And we immediately proceeded to execute his orders, first cutting and splitting the chests with our tomahawks so as thoroughly to expose them to the effect of the water. In about 3 hours from the time we went on board, we had thus broken and thrown overboard every tea chest to be found in the ship, while those in the other ships were disposing of the tea in the same way. At the same time, we were surrounded by British armed ships, but no attempt was made to resist us. Right? And it says the next morning, just like the Tea Party, there wasn't that many new members in Congress, even if it was 50 or 60. There was enough people in Congress to go on and raise the debt ceiling and go on and do what they needed to do. They blamed it on the Tea Party, right? Huh? Well, we couldn't do nothing. They was trying to force the president to do something that they could even suggest to impeach him for. because the president's job is to enforce the laws that Congress makes. His job is not to go and interpret law to the Congress. I mean, you look kind of crazy trying to sell ice to an Eskimo. I mean, you trying to interpret law to the people who make the laws? Oh, my. Well, I've never heard of such. That's what was supposed to go on next. You know, but every trap that they laid for the president, he refused to walk in. And so they say he's not leading. You know, I thought that's what leading is not doing what everybody else wants you to do, but doing what you think is right, or doing what you think should be done. Yes. Everything they thought he should do, he wasn't doing, so he wasn't leading. But anyway, let's go on.